Captain Mack Reynolds stared out the viewport of the HMS Questionable Decisions and scratched his stubbled chin. Well, that's new. New. Sir, the unidentified vessels are approaching at sublight speed. Their formation suggests military precision, announced Communications Officer Donnie Parker, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Any contact yet? Nothing, sir. Although our systems indicate they're scanning us. Captain Reynolds shrugged. Let him look. Not like we have anything to hide. This was humanity's first venture beyond their solar system. The questionable decisions named in what the Space Force Admiralty later claimed was an unfortunate clerical error represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Or rather, the pinnacle of whatever they could cobble together with minimal testing and maximum hope. Meanwhile, aboard the Galactic Confederation flagship Immutable Order, Admiral Vrextol's 6 eyes widened in sequence. You're certain these readings are accurate? The Admiral demanded, all 3 of his hearts racing simultaneously. The technician, a slender Prixian named Lox, trembled so violently his exoskeleton rattled. Confirmed on multiple frequencies, Admiral. It's not like anything we've seen before. Impossible. Run the scans again. We've run them 7 times, sir. Admiral Vrextol's facial tentacles curled in distress. The Confederation had encountered hundreds of species over millennia of space exploration. They had protocols for first contact, careful, methodical approaches developed over centuries to avoid cultural misunderstandings. Open communications, ordered the Admiral, standard greeting package, translation matrices at full capacity. Attack on the questionable decisions, a strange signal pinged through their systems. Captain, we're receiving something, Parker said. It appears to be a first contact protocol. Well, isn't that neighborly of them? Put it on screen. The view screen filled with a series of mathematical equations, followed by simple pictograms showing peaceful intentions. Standard first contact stuff that human scientists had theorized about for centuries. Respond with our own greeting package, Reynolds ordered. And throw in that animated gif of the dancing cat Lieutenant Peterson keeps sending around the ship. Shows we have a sense of humor. Parker hesitated. Sir, is that appropriate for first contact? Parker, we're making history here. May as well make it interesting. When the human response reached the Confederation ship, another technician, a methane-breathing Corlean named Zix, promptly passed out, his gelatinous body puddling onto the floor. They've responded with complex mathematics indicating understanding, followed by, I don't even know how to describe this, Lox whimpered. Some kind of rhythmically convulsing quadruped? It must be a threat display, hissed Security Chief Bractal. The mathematics were too perfect, solved too quickly. Admiral Vrextol's tentacles, now twisted in complex knots, continue scanning their vessel. We need to know what we're dealing with. As the Confederation's advanced sensors penetrated deeper into the human ship, alarms began blaring across the alien vessel. Admiral, Lox screeched, his voice breaking. Their power core, it's impossible. What the Confederation scanners detected would change galactic politics forever. A fusion reactor that by all known physics should have exploded hours ago. The patched cooling systems held together with something the translator identified as duct tape. And radiation levels that would kill any sensible species. Worst of all, they detected life signs moving casually through these death zones. May the cosmic ancestors preserve us, whispered Admiral Vrextol. What manner of beings have we encountered? The Confederation scan team huddled around their monitors in horrified fascination. What they were seeing defied all established principles of galactic engineering. The human vessel contains at least 17 distinct violations of universal safety protocols, reported Chief Inspector Zalvon, her crystalline structure vibrating with anxiety. Their primary reactor is utilizing a containment field that fluctuates at random intervals, yet somehow doesn't breach. How is that possible? Demanded Admiral Vrextol. Unknown, sir. It's as if they're ignoring the laws of physics and the universe is just going along with it. Deeper scans revealed a central computer core unlike anything in Confederate records. Rather than the clean quantum matrices or biological computing that advanced civilizations used, this system appeared to be a chaotic mishmash of technologies operating at cross purposes. Aboard the Questionable Decisions, the ship's AI pinged Captain Reynolds. "Captain, we are being thoroughly scanned by the alien vessel," announced Harold, highly articulate robot openly loathing decisions, in his perpetually judgmental tone. "Should I implement countermeasures, or shall we continue allowing them to document every questionable design choice in our construction?" "Let them look," Reynolds replied, putting his boots up on the console. "Consider it a cultural exchange." "Very well. I'll add it to my growing list of your decisions that defy logic." Harold had been the unfortunate result of programming an AI to be too honest about its assessment of human choices. The military had considered wiping him, but it turned out having a pessimistic AI actually prevented more accidents than it caused. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander Tessa Rivera from engineering, "I'm getting weird power fluctuations in the secondary coolant system. Permission to fix it my way?" Reynolds sighed. "Define your way, Rivera." "I'll reroute the emergency backup through the cafeteria's refrigeration unit, bypass the safety regulators, and boost the flow using that experimental catalyst I've been working on." "The one that turned Lieutenant Peterson's hair blue last month?" "I've reformulated it. 60% chance it works perfectly. 30% chance of minor explosion. 10% chance we create a new form of matter." Reynolds considered this for approximately 2 seconds. "Sounds reasonable. Proceed." On the Confederation ship, alarms screamed as their sensors detected this conversation. "They're deliberately modifying their propulsion system while in operation." Locks shrieked, antennae standing straight up, and using food preservation equipment as a component. "That's suicide," Bractal whispered. "No one would attempt such a thing." Yet the sensors showed Lieutenant Commander Rivera whistling cheerfully as she connected systems never meant to interact, occasionally hitting stubborn components with what appeared to be a primitive impact tool. "Their central computer appears to be arguing with them," Zalvon noted in disbelief. "It's warning of dangers, calculating failure probabilities, and they're ignoring it." Then came the most shocking discovery. The humans had no backup plans, but no emergency protocols that made sense. When faced with the unknown, they simply improvised. "These beings," Admiral Vrextool said slowly, "are either the most advanced species we've ever encountered, capable of bending cosmic laws to their will, or they're completely insane," finished Bractal. "Either way, we need to alert the Confederation Council immediately. This changes everything." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Rivera successfully completed her modification. The coolant system now hummed efficiently, despite now incorporating a beverage dispenser and what appeared to be a modified entertainment device. "Fixed it," she announced proudly over the ship's comm. "And as a bonus, the cafeteria soda machine now dispenses slightly radioactive but extra fizzy drinks." "Any hair color changes we should know about?" Reynolds asked. "Not so far, but I'd avoid the grape flavor to be safe." The Confederation Council chamber had never been assembled so quickly. Representatives from 57 spacefaring civilizations gathered in a state of unprecedented alarm. Holographic projections allowed thousands more to attend remotely. High Counselor Triz Ba, whose species had evolved from meticulous planners with 14-stage decision matrices, called the emergency session to order with a solemn tone. "Esteemed colleagues, we face an unprecedented situation. Admiral Vrextool, present your findings." The Admiral's hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. "Honorable Council, approximately 7 standard units ago, our exploratory fleet encountered a previously unknown species designating themselves as humans. Initial scans of their vessel revealed technology that defies explanation." The chamber screens displayed images from the Questionable Decisions. Audible gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Ambassador Krill X of the Logical Imperative Collective rose, his mathematically perfect features arranged in an expression of deep concern. "What we are witnessing," he explained, "is beyond mere technological advancement. These humans appear to operate on principles that contradict established universal constants, They have created systems that should, by all known science, immediately fail, yet they function. Could it be, asked a representative of the gaseous View Lari, that they possess knowledge beyond our understanding? Ambassador Krill X's voice modulator pulsed anxiously. That was our initial assessment. But after intercepting and translating their internal communications, we've reached a more disturbing conclusion. The screens now displayed transcripts from the human ship. One highlighted conversation showed. Engineer Rivera, Captain, the quantum stabilizer is fluctuating again. Captain Reynolds, can you fix it? Engineer Rivera, probably. I'll try reversing the polarity and hitting it with the lucky wrench. Captain Reynolds, sounds good. Let me know if we start existing in multiple dimensions again. The council chamber erupted in chaos. They're manipulating dimensional boundaries casually, shrieked a representative of the hive mind Gijorax. With a primitive impact tool they've anthropomorphized, added another. I, Counselor Triz B.A. restored order with difficulty. Ambassador Krill X, your conclusion? These humans aren't super advanced, Krill X stated grimly. They're simply reckless beyond comprehension. They don't know why their technology works. They try things that should kill them instantly, and when, by random chance, these things succeed, they keep doing them. Security Chief Brachtal's report followed, showing the humans' military capabilities, or rather, the terrifying lack of predictability in their approach to weapons. They've weaponized their own reactor inefficiency, he explained in disbelief. If threatened, they can deliberately induce the very failures their systems constantly verge upon, creating destructive potential beyond our defensive capabilities. We must implement the Galactic Panic Protocol, declared High Counselor Triz B.A. All vessels will maintain safe distance, no provocative actions, and most importantly, immediate ceasefire negotiations before they realize their power. But what do they want? Asked a counselor from the back. Admiral Vrextool's tentacles drooped. Based on intercepted communications, they don't appear to want anything specific. Their mission parameters include seeing what's out there, making friends if possible, and trying not to start an interstellar incident, but no promises. The Council unanimously approved the ceasefire resolution in record time. The meeting location was hastily arranged in neutral space station orbiting an uninhabited planet. The human delegation arrived in a shuttle that the Confederation engineers deemed a collection of explosions temporarily postponed. Captain Reynolds straightened his uniform as the airlock cycled. Remember, everyone, we represent all of humanity. Let's try to make a good first impression. Should I leave the experimental protein bars here, then? Asked Lieutenant Peterson, holding up a foil-wrapped package. They're still technically food, despite what happened in the test group. Maybe save those for later, Reynolds suggested. Dr. Wong, you're our science officer. Any last-minute cultural advice? Dr. Marcus Wong, the ship's brilliant if somewhat scattered xenobiologist, adjusted his glasses. Based on their communications, they seem extraordinarily concerned with safety protocols and predictable outcomes. So you know everything we're not. Wonderful. Parker, how's the translation matrix? Communications Officer Parker nodded confidently. Should be seamless, Captain. I've added some cultural idioms to ease communication. Perfect. Let's do this. The airlock opened to reveal a delegation of various alien species standing in a perfect semicircle, their postures suggesting a mixture of diplomatic courtesy and thinly veiled terror. Greetings, Captain Reynolds said warmly. On behalf of Earth and humanity, we come in peace. The translation matrix worked flawlessly, but what the aliens heard was, salutations. We have emerged from our death box to engage in potentially catastrophic cultural exchange. Admiral Vrextool's tentacles twitched. We welcome you. I am Admiral Vrextool of the Galactic Confederation. The formal introductions proceeded with painful politeness until they reached the conference room. That's when Lieutenant Peterson noticed a curious device on the refreshment table. What's this? He asked, pointing to a crystalline structure. Ambassador Krill X froze. That is a molecular harmonizer. It purifies the surrounding atmosphere for multiple species' comfort. Neat, Peterson said, leaning closer. Looks a bit like our quantum destabilizer, but prettier. Several aliens took involuntary steps backward. Perhaps, Dr. Wong interjected, we could discuss our respective scientific advancements, cultural exchange through knowledge. The aliens reluctantly agreed. Dr. Wong enthusiastically explained human innovations, then completely oblivious to the growing horror on alien faces as he detailed how many discoveries came from happy accidents and just seeing what happens. Wait, interrupted the Confederation's chief scientist. Your civilization discovered nuclear fission before developing proper radiation containment protocols. Of course, Dr. Wong replied cheerfully. How else would we know we needed them? The diplomatic tension might have continued indefinitely if not for what became known as the coffee incident. Captain Reynolds, noticing the fatigue of his crew, asked, "Any chance you folks have something like coffee? We're running a bit low." The Confederation delegates, eager to accommodate, provided a stimulant beverage with similar molecular properties. What they didn't expect was Lieutenant Commander Rivera's reaction. "This is amazing," she exclaimed after one sip. "But you know what would make it better?" Before anyone could stop her, she pulled a small vial from her pocket, her flavor enhancer that was actually a diluted version of her experimental engine catalyst. "No," shouted multiple aliens simultaneously, but too late. Rivera had already added 3 drops to her drink. The resulting reaction created a beverage that glowed slightly blue and emitted occasional sparks. Rivera took a large gulp and grinned. "Perfect. Now I can stay awake for 3 days straight. Anyone else want some?" The room emptied of alien delegates in record time. After the coffee incident, the Confederation placed the human delegation in what they called comfortable diplomatic quarters, but was actually their highest security containment unit. A hastily assembled team of xenopsychologists attempted to understand the human mindset through careful questioning. "Let me get this straight," said Dr. Nix Val, the Confederation's leading expert on emergent civilizations. "You launched yourselves into deep space in a vessel you weren't entirely sure would function properly?" Captain Reynolds shrugged. "We were reasonably confident. The simulations gave us a 68% chance of not exploding." "And that was acceptable?" "It was actually better odds than our first lunar colony mission, so we considered it progress." The aliens exchanged troubled glances. Dr. Nix Val continued, "Your engineer Rivera. Her methods of repair, they violate at least 23 universal safety principles." "Oh, at least," Reynolds agreed proudly. "She's very innovative." A different approach was tried. Ambassador Krillex inquired about human weapons technology, hoping to gauge the true threat level. "Most of our weapons started out as something else," Reynolds explained casually. "Take the Barton Chen gravitational disruptor. Originally designed to make better ice cream. The density alteration had some unexpected side effects. You weaponized a dessert production device?" Krillex asked incredulously. "Not intentionally. But when it liquefied a lab table, someone in military development got excited." As the questioning continued, Lieutenant Peterson was growing bored in a separate room. Noticing a small mechanical issue with the environmental controls, he decided to be helpful. By the time the guards noticed, he had already disassembled the control panel, modified its internal components using parts from his own communicator, and was applying what appeared to be adhesive from his emergency kit. "Just a small optimization," he explained to the horrified security team. "It was cycling too frequently. Should be 30% more efficient now." The security footage of this innocent act caused mass panic when viewed by the Confederation Council. Here was irrefutable proof humans didn't just tolerate chaos, they actively created it wherever they went. A new strategy was needed. High Counselor Triz B.A. authorized full disclosure of the Confederation's concerns, hoping honesty might yield understanding. "Captain Reynolds," Admiral Vrextul began carefully, "I must be direct. Your species terrifies us." Reynolds blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your technology shouldn't work. Your methods contradict established universal principles. Your casual approach to lethal dangers suggests either insanity or godlike mastery of cosmic forces. Ha, Reynolds said, genuinely surprised. We just thought we were muddling through, to be honest. The full human delegation was assembled, and the Confederation presented their evidence: the impossible reactor configurations, the haphazard repairs, the cavalier attitude toward potentially catastrophic outcomes. Dr. Wong adjusted his glasses. Fascinating. You're saying that other species don't develop technology this way? No sane species does, confirmed Ambassador Krillex. Technological progress follows predictable, methodical paths. Centuries of theoretical work precede practical application. Safety protocols evolve before, not after, implementation. Lieutenant Commander Rivera couldn't contain her laughter. That sounds incredibly boring. Where's the fun in that? Fun? Repeated Krillex, the translator struggling with the concept in this context. Technological development isn't about fun. It's about survival and advancement. Por qué no los dos? Rivera replied with a grin. The humans tried explaining that their approach, while admittedly chaotic, had advantages. Rapid iteration, unexpected breakthroughs, and resilience born from frequent failures. The Confederation representatives remained unconvinced until an urgent message interrupted the discussion. The Hive Collective, a hostile species on the Confederation's borders, had launched a surprise attack on a key outpost. Conventional defenses were failing against their new adaptive weaponry. Admiral Vrex Toll received the news with grim resignation, but noticed Captain Reynolds and his crew exchanging thoughtful glances. Something to share, Captain? The Admiral asked. Reynolds smiled slowly. You know, we might have some ideas about that. The Confederation war room fell silent as Captain Reynolds finished outlining his plan. Even Harold, patched into their communications system, seemed momentarily speechless. This plan, Admiral Vrex Toll said finally, violates 74 separate safety protocols and has a projected success rate of about 35%, Reynolds finished, which by our standards is pretty decent. You can't be serious. Lieutenant Commander Rivera grinned. The beauty of it is that the Hive won't see it coming. No logical species would attempt this, which is exactly why it might work. The Confederation military leaders huddled together, whispering frantically. The human plan involved deliberately creating a controlled reactor instability, then channeling the energy through the Confederation's defense grid in a way its designers never intended, and essentially turning the entire system into what Dr. Wong cheerfully called a cosmic glitter bomb. If this fails, warned Bractal, we lose half the sector. And if it works? Asked Reynolds. Then the Hive fleet is neutralized without destruction, admitted Ambassador Krillex reluctantly. Their adaptive systems would be overwhelmed by the chaotic energy pattern. The debate raged for precious minutes before Admiral Vrex Toll made his decision. We will attempt the human plan. May the cosmic ancestors forgive us. What followed was a frantic implementation phase that horrified and fascinated the Confederation engineers in equal measure. Lieutenant Commander Rivera orchestrated modifications with gleeful efficiency, while Lieutenant Peterson jury-rigged connections that made the aliens wince. Stop overthinking it, Peterson advised a trembling Confederation technician. Sometimes you just need to make the square peg fit the round hole. That violates fundamental engineering principles, the technician protested. Exactly. That's why it's going to work. When the moment of truth arrived, the combined fleet held its collective breath. The modified defense system powered up with an ominous hum that did not inspire confidence. Energy levels destabilizing exactly according to projections, reported Rivera over the comms. We're ready when you are, Captain. Reynolds exchanged glances with Admiral Vrex Toll. Well, Admiral? It's your defense grid. With visible reluctance, the Admiral gave the order. Initiate the human protocol. The resulting phenomenon defied description. The defense grid released a wave of chaotic energy that shifted through patterns no sane physicist would predict. The Hive ships, designed to adapt to logical attacks, encountered something their systems couldn't categorize. Within minutes, their fleet drifted powerless. In the stunned silence that followed, Captain Reynolds casually asked, "So, about that ceasefire and trade agreement?" 3 days later, the Galactic Confederation signed the most rapid peace treaty in its history. The official document recognized Earth as a sovereign power and established generous trade terms along with subtle clauses that limited human vessels to specific travel corridors. "They really like us," Reynolds remarked as the human delegation prepared to return to their ship. "They fear us," corrected Dr. Wong. "There's a difference." Ambassador Krillex, overhearing, approached with his mathematically perfect posture. "Both statements are accurate, Captain. Your species represents something we never anticipated: chaos as a methodology. It is terrifying, but we cannot deny its occasional utility." "We'll take that as a compliment," Reynolds said with a smile. "Do so. But know this: the Confederation has already implemented what we call human containment protocols. Special monitoring, predetermined response patterns for your innovations." Sounds ominous. Merely practical. The galaxy has existed in careful balance for millennia. Your species is a random element we must account for. As the humans departed, the Confederation Council convened one final time on the matter. High Counselor Triz B.A. surveyed the chamber. "Let the record show that first contact with humans has been established and appropriate measures taken. We will guide their chaos, channel it when necessary, and study their improbable successes." "And if they cannot be contained?" asked a worried counselor. Trizba's expression was solemn. "Then the galaxy as we know it will change forever. Their approach to existence is fundamentally different from ours. They do not avoid failure. They rush toward it, learn from it, and somehow emerge stronger." "Is that admiration I detect, High Counselor?" Ambassador Krillex asked with surprise. "Perhaps a small amount," admitted Trizba. "They are, after all, the first species to make the hive retreat in 50 cycles. With proper management, humans might become valuable allies." "Or the end of everything we know," muttered Admiral Vrex Toll. "As the humans would say," Trizba replied with uncharacteristic humor, "that's a problem for future us." Back aboard the Questionable Decisions, Captain Reynolds addressed his crew as they prepared to return to Earth with news of their diplomatic success. "This is just the beginning," he told them. "A whole galaxy of possibilities. And a whole galaxy of things to fix improperly," added Harold dryly. "Exactly," Reynolds grinned. "Humanity's greatest contribution to the universe, making it up as we go along." Somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of the Confederation, a new department was quietly formed: Humanity Observation and Containment. Its mission statement, classified at the highest levels, contained a single directive: monitor the humans. Learn what we can, prevent what we must, and may the cosmic ancestors help us all. The humans, blissfully unaware, continued doing what they did best: improvising their way across the stars, one questionable decision at a time.